Part 6. Fantasy, Me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 51. Are you treating me like a 3-year-old? Baikan Hung sneered in his heart. But any normal person should understand that the words of those in power cannot be trusted, especially those who are god emperors. They have always used what they have. If they have no value, they just kick them aside. Even themselves. If your relatives can do it, how much credibility can you expect from them? At present, the only thing I can rely on is the method of becoming a saint through luck. If I lose this trump card, what use is there for me? Luck is such a good thing. Things will not recognize their master. Anyone in the Baikan clan can achieve this step as long as they master the method of becoming a saint through luck. In this case, what should I do? You know. I have just lost my cultivation. Without the method of luck and sanctification, even the world has no place for itself. I'm afraid I will disappoint my ancestor. Baikan Hung's expression remained unchanged, and he said the method of becoming a saint by luck is a magical power bestowed by a senior to the younger generation. Whether it can be handed over to the ancestors requires the consent of the seniors. Oh, there was a soft voice in the void. It seemed that he was a little surprised by this explanation. After a moment of pause, Baikan Feng spoke again and said, "Who is the senior you are talking about?" "The owner of Tianji." Baikan Hung spat out 4 words. He said silently in his heart, "Senior, don't blame me. This junior has nothing to do. If you hand over the method of luck and sainthood, you will definitely die. I hope senior can help this junior." "The owner of Tianji." Baikan Feng's voice was obviously filled with doubts. He searched for the memories in his mind. After a long time, he didn't have any clue. In his time, no master had this name. "You leave the method of becoming a saint to me, and I will have an old man from the Tianji poster to negotiate." Baikan Feng's voice came again. "I'm sorry that I can't do it. The senior poster has participated in nature and has great strength. Sitting in one place, he can observe the changes in the world. If the junior can give the ancestor the method of becoming a saint by luck, I'm afraid it will make the seniors unhappy." Bei Chen Heng's voice paused and continued, "The death of this junior is nothing. If the senior angers the Tianyan dynasty, everyone will be buried with him. Are you threatening me?" Baikan Feng's voice turned cold. "He became famous very early and is extremely powerful. He has reached the peak of the Saint King and is only a hair away from the great saint. Such a person naturally has his own arrogance. The most unacceptable thing for him is it's a threat. People who did this in front of him before had grass growing 3 feet tall on their graves. This is not a threat, the junior is just stating a fact." Bei Chen Hung shook his head and said in a low voice, "If ancestors don't believe it, you can go to Dawang City for a trip. Tianji Tower is in Dawang City." After saying this, Bei Chen Hung felt a little uneasy. The strength of his predecessor should have surpassed that of the Saint King, right? At the beginning, he could not see the depth of his predecessor at all. People who can achieve this step are not ordinary people. Should be the great sage. Or a quasi-emperor. Therefore, even if the ancestor goes, 99% of the time he will not be his opponent. "Do you think the words Tianjilo can suppress me?" Baikan Feng was angry. His breath could not help but become thicker by 3 points. The terrifying pressure fell, like a big mountain, crashing down on Bei Chen Hung. The bones in his body were rattling. It seemed that he was about to be completely wiped out. Bei Chen Heng's face suddenly changed. He became pale, sweat oozed from his body, and his clothes were wet. If the ancestor doesn't believe it, just search the soul directly. The method of luck and sanctification is in the mind of the younger generation. Baikan Heng's eyes were cold and he said in a deep voice, "Ancestor can take a gamble. Let's see if the Tianyin dynasty can withstand the anger of that senior. But the younger generation has a word to warn our ancestors: if the Tianyin dynasty's millions-year-old foundation were to be destroyed, our ancestors would be the ones to blame. In a void space, Bai Feng sat cross-legged. When he heard these words, his eyes were like lightning, his clothes moved without wind, and the terrifying power spread out like a tide. It pulled out strips of the surrounding void. Terrifying cracks. It seems like the world is about to be destroyed. The owner of Tianji? Bai Feng snorted coldly and said, "It doesn't matter if I go up against you. If I find out later that you are deceiving me, then the position of God Emperor will be your life. I will take it away with you." The words fell. The pressure on Bai Heng's body immediately dissipated. He breathed a sigh of relief and raised his hand to wipe the sweat from his forehead. In any case, he managed to pass this level by relying on the banner of his seniors. But he couldn't say it's over. If you want to survive completely, you have to see if your senior is willing to speak for you. Using the senior's methods, one should be able to calculate what the junior will encounter today, right? Bai Heng thought in his heart. Senior knows everything. If a saint king comes to him, how can he not know the cause and effect? What if you have some value in the hearts of your seniors? Maybe the senior will save him easily. If you are not worthy enough, your seniors may choose to sit back and watch. The key point. It still depends on what the seniors want. Any word he says may be related to his life. Fantasy, may create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 52. Report to the God Emperor and ask for an audience with the elders of the Holy Land of Light. While Bai Heng was thinking, outside the palace, a general wearing armor strode over. He came to stand in front of the palace and said respectfully, "Shaking Light Holy Land." Bai Heng frowned slightly. This Holy Land is not an ordinary force. Now, in the whole world, looking at the 3,000 states, the strongest combat power in each Holy Land is obviously a great saint, but the Yaoguang Holy Land is the strongest. The ancestor is a quasi-emperor. Of course, it does not exclude a certain Holy Land, which is relatively low-key. Even if there is an ancestor of a quasi-emperor, it is hidden and not exposed. Doing this in the Yaoguang Holy Land has advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantage is that the Yaoguang Holy Land the Holy Land is too strong, and many forces will unite to fight against the Holy Land. Even the righteous forces are very afraid of it. The good thing is that no one dares to mess with the Holy Land wherever it goes. No matter how big or small the forces are, they must give 3 points of thin face. What are the elders of Yaoguang Holy Land doing in Tianyin dynasty? Bai Heng was puzzled. Could it be that he was congratulating me? As soon as this thought appeared, he was thrown out of his mind. He had just become a saint today, and it had only been a few hours since he ascended the throne of the God Emperor. It spread at this speed. No matter how fast it is unlikely to reach the Holy Land of Shaking Light. Even if there are spies from the Holy Land of Shaking Light in the dynasty, it will take time for them to send back the news and the other party will rush over. This time can obviously not be rushed in one day arrived. Ask him to come in. Bai Heng stood up. His true energy was flowing around his body. The sweat that had just leaked out was immediately wiped away, and he regained the majesty of the God Emperor. Outside the hall, the general left. Not long after, he led an old man with grey hair and left. Came over. I have met fellow Taoist Baikan in Hongyuan Mountain, the Holy Land of Shaking Light. After Hongyuan Shan entered the hall, he glanced at Bai Heng with a stern look, and casually raised his hands. His attitude was very free and easy, as if this was his own back garden. It turns out to be Elder Hong. Bai Heng spoke indifferently. His voice was very cold and did not contain a trace of warmth. He had become the Tianyan God Emperor. It was enough that the other party did not call him God Emperor, but instead called him a Taoist friend. This was obviously belittling the Tianyan dynasty. If God Emperor Tianyan is on the same level as the elders of Yaoguang Holy Land, then if he meets Holy Lord Yaoguang, wouldn't he automatically be half a generation shorter? You know, these people are all of the same generation and have competed with each other on the same stage. That's it. When they were young, they were all young geniuses and could ignore their status. But now, times have changed, and they are no longer young. Everyone not only represents themselves, but also represents the forces behind them. If he is slapped in the face, he represents the entire force. They are all being slapped in the face. I don't know what Elder Hong is talking about, traveling thousands of miles from Yaoguang Holy Land to the Tianyan dynasty. Baikan? Hong asked while suppressing the anger in his chest. Tianyan dynasty is not bad in strength, but compared with Yaoguang Holy Land, it is still a bit inferior. It is hard to say whether they have a quasi-emperor, but one thing is certain. Tianyan dynasty does not have imperial soldiers. And Yaoguang Holy Land has. Based on this alone, Tianyan dynasty is not as good as Yaoguang Holy Land. Therefore, even if he is humiliated, he must endure his anger and try not to provoke the other party. If he can't afford to offend him, he can still afford to hide. Hong came here for nothing else but for the method of becoming a saint through luck in the hands of fellow Taoist Baikan. Hong Yuanshan was talking eloquently. He moved his palm and a jade slip appeared in his hand. He continued. Hong came here with sincerity. I will not take anything from anyone in vain in the Holy Land of Light. Here is a set of holy level exercises that can be used to exchange for the method of becoming a saint through luck in the hands of fellow Taoist Baikan. Elder Hong, are you kidding? Baikan Hong said coldly. A holy level skill, you want to exchange it for a method of becoming a saint through luck? How can there be such a good thing in the world? The holy level skill can only theoretically be practiced to the holy level, but can it be achieved? At this point, it depends on personal talent, opportunity, and understanding. These three are indispensable. The method of becoming a saint through luck is different. As long as you understand this magical power and add the help of luck, you can create one or more of them anytime and anywhere. A saint. Comparing the two, the value is clear at a glance. Besides, it is just a saint-level skill. Even if it is a legendary imperial clan with emperor scriptures and imperial weapons, doesn't it mean that it has declined? Therefore, saint in the eyes of the Tianyan dynasty, the super-level skills are not of great value, and they also have them, so they are not lacking in them. Hong never joked, and the prestige of Yaoguang Holy Land did not allow Hong to joke. Hong Yuanshan shook his head, looked at Bei Chen Hong, and said lightly, so, fellow Taoist Baikan, do you plan to change or not? What if I say I won't change? Baikan Hong said coldly. Not really. Hong Yuanshan was confident and said with a smile, but the method of becoming a saint through luck is extremely precious. Now that it appears in the hands of fellow Taoist Baikan, the news will spread all over the world sooner or later. At that time, the Holy Lands from all sides will exert pressure. I am afraid that the Tianyan dynasty will be difficult to resist this pressure with only a few bodies. Baikan. Hong sneered and said, don't worry about the Holy Land of Light, the Tianyan dynasty has its own way to deal with it. Does the countermeasure mentioned by fellow Taoist Baikan refer to Tianji Tower? Hong Yuanshan spoke again, his voice a few degrees higher, and he said in a deep voice, or do you think that fellow Taoist Baikan thinks that a Tianji building master can stop the Holy Land from joining forces? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 53. Um. Bei. Chen Hung frowned, and his hands under his sleeves were clenched tightly, and then slowly relaxed. He took a long breath and said indifferently. It seems that the Holy Land of Shaking Light is well prepared. Just happened to be passing by. Elder Hong smiled slightly. What he said was true. Their previous goal was just a chance discovered by Deluo Sword Section, but on the way here, he heard about the Tianyin dynasty. The current ninth prince, he killed the contemporary God Emperor and ascended the throne. If that's all, that's it. The key point is that the method of becoming a saint through luck has appeared. Hong Yuanshan compared it in his mind, and it was obvious that the method of becoming a saint through luck was more popular, so they gave up the opportunity of the Beiduan Mountains and came to the Tianyin dynasty instead. On the way to the Tianyin dynasty, they also inquired about the news. It didn't matter that this inquiry was not important. Hong Yuanshan immediately discovered that something was wrong. Whether it was Ren Qingtu or Yang Qiu, or Bei Chenheng, these people have all been to Tianji Tower. After going to Tianji Tower, everyone has changed a lot to a greater or lesser extent. Those who have changed greatly, such as Ren Qingtu, became a saint immediately. Those who have changed slightly, such as Yang Qiu, have also undergone a slight change. From this, it can be seen that the Tianji Tower is not simple. At least there is a strange person hidden in it who can spy on the secrets of the sky. Oh, happened to pass by. Baikan Hung sneered. If he believed it, then there would be something wrong with him. Since Elder Hong knows my relationship with Tianji Tower, he should understand that the method of becoming a saint through luck cannot be exchanged with you. Bei. Chen Hung paused for a moment and said indifferently, this magical power was given by my senior. Without his approval, I cannot trade it to anyone. No problem. Hong Yuanshan waved his hand indifferently and said, just invite the Tianji building master here. The Holy Land of Shaking Light is quite prestigious. Do you really think you can invite anyone? Baikan Hung said, displeased. As the God Emperor, he controls hundreds of millions of miles of the Tianyin dynasty. He doesn't think he can invite the master of Tianji. What qualifications does an elder of the Shaking Light Holy Land have? Fellow Taoist Baikan can just wait quietly. It won't take long for the two saints to bring the master of Tianji Tower here. Hong Yuanshan said without caring. What? Baikan. Hung stood up suddenly, stared at Hong Yuanshan with his eyes, and said word by word, have you sent someone to Tianji Tower? Do you want someone to bring the owner of Tianji Tower to Tianyin Imperial City? How? Hong Yuanshan was puzzled and asked, why not? He has done this kind of thing more than once. With their reputation as the Holy Land of Light, most of the time they reveal their identity and the other party will follow them. They rarely use strong methods. Of course. It's not that they have never been used. Looking at the world, except for some forbidden areas, the Imperial Clan and the ancient Holy Land, they can't afford to offend other forces. The Yaoguang Holy Land can still be easily manipulated. An unknown Tianji Tower is obviously not among the ranks they can't afford to offend. Middle. Fellow Taoist Baikan, there is no need to be angry. We are just asking the owner of the Tianji building to come over and have a talk. We will not harm his life, and we have no evil intentions. As long as he is obedient, Hong will guarantee that he will be unscathed. After all. Hong Yuanshan raised the corner of his mouth, smiled confidently, and said what the Holy Land of Light wants is just a way to become a saint through luck. At first, they wanted Ren Qingtu to have a chance to become a saint, so they brought two saints over. That's the purpose. Relying on the saint's fighting power, he was able to tear off a piece of flesh in the hands of Deluo Sword Sect. But for now, they have better options. One method of becoming a saint through luck has overcome several opportunities for becoming a saint. After all, saints always run out of life. However, the method of becoming a saint through luck can continuously create saints. This magical power is priceless, if it is in the hands of the Holy Land of Light. With the current fortune of the shaking light Holy Land, I am afraid that several saints can be created immediately. This will become an immeasurable force. You are looking for death. Baiken. Hung shouted coldly and strode out of the hall. As he walked, he said shaking light Holy Land is looking for death. Please also ask Elder Hong not to get involved with the Tianyan dynasty. This Hong Yuanshan is really a scam. You can just provoke your seniors by yourself. But you actually want to capture your seniors and bring them to Tianyan Imperial City. What does this mean? You think the Tianyan dynasty is too peaceful, so you plan to bring a supreme being here to make the Tianyan dynasty lively? Hong Yuanshan was confused and asked, what does this mean, fellow Taoist Baiken? Said. Hong Yuanshan's face darkened. Over the years, no one has dared to say that he is looking for death. This is already a naked provocation. Just the literal meaning. Baiken. Hong said coldly, I have to go out for a while. Elder Hong, please help yourself. As soon as he finished speaking, Baiken Hong took a step forward and disappeared. This time, the people in the Yaoguang Holy Land had ulterior motives and wanted to harm their seniors. He had to rush over immediately and make this matter clear first. No matter what. And also want to get rid of himself and the Tianyan dynasty. Although the seniors have clever calculations and may already know what happened today, but it is one thing for the seniors to know, and it is another thing to explain it yourself. Therefore, this attitude must be upright. I hope that shaking light Holy Land hasn't done everything yet. Baiken Hong thought in his heart. This was the first time he felt such great pressure. On one side was the Holy Land of shaking light, and on the other was the senior, and he did not dare to provoke him. If the senior was angered by the people of Holy Land of shaking light, he, as the god of Tianyan, the emperor, controls a territory with a radius of hundreds of millions of miles, and without any warning in advance, it is inevitable that he will not escape the blame. On the other hand, if a person from the Holy Land of Light is beheaded by his predecessors, and the Holy Land of shaking light comes to question him afterwards, it will be difficult for him to bear the blame. After all, the person died within the territory of the Tianyan dynasty. He, the Tianyan dynasty, cannot escape his involvement no matter what. Well. Bei Chen Hung sighed softly while he was in mid-air. The main hall of Tianyan dynasty. Hong Yuanshan stood alone in the hall, looking at the direction Bei Chen Hung was leaving, his eyes gradually turned cold. What a great Baiken Hung, when your father was in power, he didn't dare to treat Yaoguang Holy Land like this, but when it's your turn to be in power, you don't take Yaoguang Holy Land in your eyes like this. Looks like it needs a beating. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 54. The Deserted City. Above the void, an old man appeared. He was tall, with a cold face and a frightening wave. Tianji Tower. The old man is Baiken Feng. He has the strength of the Saint King. He rushed from the Tianyan dynasty to Dawang City in a short time. He arrived in just a few steps. This attic seems a bit unusual. Baiken Feng frowned. Looking at the Tianji Tower below, my heart began to beat. With his eyesight, he couldn't actually see through an attic. The aircraft tower was clearly in front of him, but it seemed to be shrouded in a layer of fog. He used his spiritual sense to detect it. But only a void was found. It's as if this attic is in another space. To go or not to go? This moment, Baiken Peak began to encounter difficulties. Bei Chen Hung didn't lie to himself. The Tianji building owner was indeed extraordinary. At least he couldn't see through him. To be precise, he couldn't even see through an attic. He hasn't seen the real owner yet. Just when Baiken Peak was hesitating. At the end of the sky. Two figures, one old and one young, came hand in hand. One person on the left, with white beard and hair, wearing a blue robe, had a thin face, but there was a trace between his eyebrows that could not be concealed. He was arrogant, and his eyes as he glanced at the city below were full of disdain. There was a person on the right, who looked like he was only in his early 20s. He was very young. He was holding a folding fan in his hand. He had a graceful demeanor, but his eyes were full of vicissitudes of life. As if witnessing the vicissitudes of life. Two saints. Bai Feng's heart moved, he took a closer look, then snorted coldly, and said disdainfully, it turns out that he relied on pills to forcibly improve his cultivation. It seems that the goal of these two people is also the Tianji Tower. I can take this opportunity to observe the depth of the Tianji Tower. Bai Feng had an idea in his mind. He gathered all his aura and fell into the wilderness city, passing through the formation without causing any movement. In the final analysis, it was still a Holy Lord level formation, which was too bad. Even for a saint the formation may not be able to stop him. Is this the Tianji Tower? In front of the Tianji Tower, two saints stood side by side. The younger-looking man opened the folding fan in his hand with a swish, shook it gently, and said lightly, "It's somewhat interesting. With my strength, I can't tell the depth of the Tianji Tower. This should be some kind of formation that can achieve this level. That Tianji building master, I think, can not only spy on Tianji, but also be a formation master. If he is given to the Shaking Light Holy Land, our Tiangang sect may be able to reach a higher level." Although the young man looks young, when he speaks, he is old-fashioned. He is an old monster who has lived for an unknown number of years. The two of them are the two saints brought by Hong Yuanshan this time. They are not from the Holy Land of Shaking Light, but from Tiangang sect, an affiliated sect of Yaoguang Holy Land. Mark the yin and yang and cut off the 5 elements, look at the sun and moon in the palm of your hand. Know the past and present and understand the world, and hide the universe in your sleeves. The secret is unpredictable. The old man read the couplet again, stroked his beard and smiled and said, "Senior brother is right. I am afraid that the master of Tianji really has 2 brushes. He can calculate the chance of a saint. He can also calculate the whereabouts of the method of becoming a saint through luck. It's worth it called terror. He revealed such an important secret, and now he is probably being punished by the gods. Looking at the world, the only people in the world who can help him are the forces from the Holy Land of Light." "Good." The young man nodded. He put away the folding fan, nodded at the Tianji Tower, and said lightly, "Let's go and meet this strange man." The words fell. The two of them stepped into the Tianji Tower one after another. In the Tianji Tower, Li Yun was bored, lying on a chair, flipping through a book in his hand, and taking a sip of tea from time to time. Footsteps are heard. He turned and looked over. The moment he saw the two figures, 2 system panels automatically appeared in front of him. Name, Chen Wugu. Strength, Saint Realm, Pseudo. Affiliated Force, Tiangang Sect. Current status, Peak Condition. I came to Dawang City today and headed to the Holy Land of Shaking Light in order to capture the host. Click to see more. Name, Shenfeng. Strength, Saint Realm, Pseudo. Affiliated Force, Tiangang Sect. Current status, Peak Condition. I came to Dawang City today and headed to the Holy Land of Shaking Light in order to capture the host. Click to see more. Li Yun saw the introduction and sat up immediately. What the hell? What does this Holy Land of Shaking Light mean? It seems that he has never heard of this Holy Land. Why did the other party send people to arrest him? Could it be because of him? Has the information about Ren Qingtu and Beichen Heng's previous guidance spread? Nima. Li Yun cursed secretly. Misstep. He originally thought that after his fame spread, people would come here to ask for all kinds of information, but he did not expect that he underestimated the popularity of people. Some people don't want to travel hundreds of millions of miles, which is expensive, laborious, and a waste of time. Therefore, planning to kidnap myself away. Presumably, this is the owner of Tianji. Chen Wujiao took a step forward, his manners were elegant and graceful. He slightly cupped his hands and said politely, "How? Something's wrong." Li Yun looked ugly. He came to Tianji Tower not only to do business, but also wanted to kidnap himself. Why should he give him a good look? He didn't beat him to death directly. It was already giving him face. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 55. In the past few days, the name of Master Tianji has spread throughout several states. When I saw him today, I realized that the rumors were true. Chen Wujiao still had a smile on his face, but there was a hint of gloom in his eyes. He was choked just now, and no one would look good. Let alone a high-ranking saint. Even a false saint. Then he is also a saint. Much stronger than the Holy Lord level. My brothers and I have admired the name of the poster for a long time, so they traveled hundreds of millions of miles to come and pay homage to the poster. Chen Wujiao said sincerely. If there are people here who don't understand the situation, they might really be deceived by his sincere acting skills. Is it? Li Yun seemed to be smiling but not smiling. His eyes were very cold. He glanced at the two of them and said slowly, "I'm afraid that he not only pays respects, but also has the idea of robbing them." Hearing this sentence, both Chen Wujiao and Shen Feng frowned. The two looked at each other and saw the doubts in each other's eyes. It didn't take long. The two returned to their original positions, and they couldn't help being surprised. The master of Tianji, sure enough, he was worthy of the word Tianji. He saw through his own thoughts quietly. Although he was seen through, the two of them would never admit it at the moment. Chen Wuqiao laughed dryly and said in a deep voice, "The poster is joking. We as a righteous sect, Tiangang sect, would naturally not do such a despicable thing." Good. At this time, Shen Feng also spoke up and said, "The two of us are here just to invite the poster to the Holy Land of Shaking Light. Please don't make it difficult for us." Ah! Li Yun sneered. Going to the Holy Land of Shaking Light? Are you kidding? Although the secrets he has revealed are not too many, they are not too few. The people who deserve to die are not dead, and the people who should not die are dead. There are many things that can be said. The timeline has been messed up. I don't know how much power of divine punishment I have accumulated in my body. Once I step out of the gate of Tianji Tower, maybe there will be a lightning strike immediately. If I go out at this moment, I am looking for death. What? What does the landlord mean by this? Chen Wujiao frowned. He suppressed the anger in his chest and said again, "Holy Lord Yaoguang is an eternal genius, with the appearance of a great emperor. I heard rumors about the original poster a few days ago, so I want to meet him. This opportunity is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Countless people want to see the Holy Lord Yaoguang but cannot. Does the host want to miss this opportunity? It's just the Holy Lord of Light." Li Yun curled his lips and said lightly, "Isn't this the emperor who hasn't become an emperor yet? In this world, are there too many people who have the appearance of becoming an emperor? In another world, there is also a person who also has the appearance of an emperor. His father has personally admitted it. What's the end? Isn't it just that he dies with a sense of rhythm? It's normal. Generally speaking, a character like Lord Yaoguang, who is domineering and has a strong personality, is a stepping stone for the protagonist. However, Li Yun doesn't know who the protagonist of this world is yet. When he knows, he has to follow, give him a push in the back. Let Holy Lord Yaoguang know what it means to have a sinister heart. By what the poster said, can I understand that he is despising the holy land of shaking light? Chen Wujiao's tone became colder. The Yaoguang Holy Land is the backer of their Tiangang section. If their backer is insulted, the younger brother will naturally roll up his sleeves and prepare for a fight. Anyway, if something goes wrong, the Yaoguang Holy Land is behind it. With Li Yun pondered for a moment and said, if you two understand this way, it doesn't seem impossible. That being the case, there's not much to say. Chen Wogu opened the folding fan with a swipe. He first glanced at the Tianji Tower. Before entering this attic, he noticed something was wrong. He was afraid that it was a killing array or a trap. So he kept looking at it. On guard, he saw no movement in Tianji Tower at the moment, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Chen Wujiao turned around, his eyes fell on Li Yun. In his eyes, the other person was just an ordinary person, without any aura of cultivation. At a sudden glance, he was shocked just now. But after thinking about it carefully, it seems that is not the case. The master of Tianji is proficient in deducing Tianji and focuses all his energy on it. How high can his cultivation be? Maybe it's just a relatively powerful means of gathering interest. Chen Wujiao said coldly, since the poster doesn't want to come with us, then we have to do it ourselves and ask the poster to come with us. With the shaking light holy land behind him, Chen Wujiao did not give up at all. Even in the end, the strength of the Tianji building master in front of him exceeded his and others' imagination. He was a saint king, or even a great sage. So what? He could defeat the two of himself, he still dared to kill two of you? Behind you, in the holy land of Yaoguang, stands a quasi-emperor, an imperial weapon, and a holy lord of Yaoguang who is very likely to become the emperor. The smarter the person, the more likely he is to figure out the pros and cons, the more he throws himself into the trap. Especially people like the master of Tianji who can spy on Tianji. He should understand what will happen if he offends the holy land of shaking light. Junior brother takes action and asks the Tianji building master to leave with us. Chen Wuqiu said calmly. The words fell to the ground. There was no movement at all. Junior brother, why haven't you taken action yet? Chen Wugu was unhappy. He said something again, but there was still no movement. Junior brother. Chen Wujiao was puzzled. He turned around and glanced at Shen Feng. At some point, Shen Feng looked extremely pale, his forehead was covered with fine sweat, and the corners of his mouth were trembling. He stood motionless. He saw Chen Wujiao, his eyes were extremely panicked, and he struggled to squeeze out a few words from his mouth. Senior brother, it's over. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 56. What's over? Chen Wujiao was puzzled. At the same time, he felt a little disdainful. In the past, he never realized that his junior brother was so timid and fearful. Isn't he just the master of the Tianji building? The two of them were working for the Yaoguang Holy Land. What does he dare to do to us? Even if he is a quasi-emperor, he must consider offending the Holy Land of Yaoguang. If the quasi-emperor of the Holy Land of Yaoguang comes with imperial soldiers, who among the same level can stop him? Brother, our cultivation base is missing. Shenfeng said with difficulty. He wanted to take action just now, but suddenly found that his meridians were empty. I don't know when, he suddenly became an ordinary person from a saint. This method is too unbelievable. Even if yes, it's impossible for the emperor to let a person's cultivation disappear without any reason, right? Chen Wujiao felt it, and his expression also changed. He suddenly turned around and said sternly, "TNG Tower." Bang. The words haven't been finished yet. A huge pressure fell, suppressing the two of them to the ground, unable to move at all. "This is the first time for you to have such an impudent person in TNG Tower." Li Yun said indifferently. What formation is it?" Chen Wujiao said in horror. He was certain that the TNG building master in front of him had not shown any aura from beginning to end, but if he wanted to suppress others, he must use his own power. If you can't suppress yourself by relying on power, then you must. It's some kind of mysterious formation. It can invisibly deprive a person of his cultivation level, and it can also suppress the people in the formation. This kind of formation is simply unheard of and unseen. It doesn't matter what the formation is. Li Yun shook his head and said, "Today Li wants to tell you something, and he also wants to tell everyone in the world something. TNG Tower is not a place where you can run wild." "Master TNG, what are you going to do?" Chen Wujiao was shocked. His intuition told him that something bad was going to happen. At this moment, the hairs all over his body stood up and a layer of cold sweat broke out. A terrible thought came into his mind. Could it be that something bad was going to happen? This TNG building owner wants to use himself and the two to establish his power? Impossible. It will definitely not be like this. Behind him and others, is the shaking light Holy Land. Looking at the world, even the Imperial clan has to give 3 points to a small TNG building. How could he dare to compete with the Holy Land with only one TNG Tower Master? No matter how strong a person is, he would not dare to be too arrogant before becoming an emperor. Because in this world, no one knows whether something will happen. Suddenly a great emperor jumps out and slaps himself to death. Just because the person is not in the world does not mean that he does not exist. You guessed it right, Li wants to use you two to establish his authority. Plum smiled. This smile was really terrifying in the eyes of these two people. Creepy. This person. Even the thoughts of saints can be seen through. Master TNG, aren't you afraid of the wrath of the Holy Land of Light? Shenfeng took a deep breath and said in a cold voice. The two of us came here under the orders of Holy Lord Yao Guang. If the two of us die here, you will definitely not be able to hide the news. By then the elders of Yao Guang Holy Land will arrive. Not to mention a small TNG tower, even the living beings thousands of miles around will be buried together for the two of us. You two are really pathetic. Li Yun smiled disdainfully and said, as a member of the Tiangang sect, you are carrying the signboard of the Yao Guang Holy Land. Why is your sect so unable to take action? Shen's cover turned black. This incident touched their sore spot. Our own Tiangang sect is indeed incapable of doing anything. It is far inferior to any other holy land. If it were not for the shaking light Holy Land, they would really be nothing in the world of cultivation. Any holy land can easily destroy them. Not only that, the cultivation of the two of them also relied on the pills given by the Holy Land of Shaking Light to barely reach the realm of pseudo-sage, which is better than the Holy Master and a little worse than the Saint. And because of the side effects of the elixir, the possibility of going further has been cut off in this life. There is no hope in this life, and the two of them are more determined, holding on to the idea of shaking the light Holy Land. Having said that, you two are outsiders after all, so don't think that you are very important in the Holy Land of Shaking Light. Li Yun raised his palm, waved his hand in the air, and said softly, "Go to death." No. Chen Wogu opened his mouth, and only one word came out. The next words could no longer be spoken. It was as if there were rules attached to him, pulling his life out of his body. Plop. Two corpses fell to the ground, without any breath of life. It seems that in every world, there are some people who do not know whether to live or die. Li Yun murmured, took the two people's space rings, and with a sweep of his consciousness, he saw mountains of spiritual stones inside, plus various heavenly materials and earthly treasures, which immediately made him smile. Sure enough, killing people and buying goods is the fastest way to get rich. Although these two people are not true saints, their net worth is not comparable to that of some holy masters. The top-grade spiritual stones alone have piled up into 2 hills. A rough count, there must be tens of millions of them at least. The system converts all these resources into secret points. Li Yun said in his mouth. There was a crisp sound in his mind. A full 170,000 secret points were credited to his account. Adding to the 50,000 secret points he had saved before, he now had more than 230,000 secret points. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 57. A large number of secret points were recorded in the account. Li Yun felt happy. He swept away the corpses of the 2 false saints on the ground, waved his hand, and sent them out of the Tianji Tower. At the same time, he activated the formation of Dawang City and threw it outside the city. This way, there should be no one who dares to provoke Tianji Tower. Li Yun thought in his heart. The target of his power is the Yaoguang Holy Land. He just picked a tough one. His background is not as good as the power of the Yaoguang Holy Land. He will use his brain in the future. It's a must, so you have to think about it. Outside the city. With a pop, 2 corpses fell from the sky and hit the ground, raising a cloud of smoke and dust. Bai Kunfeng walked down from the void and came to the 2 corpses. He looked at them carefully and his pupils shrank. He murmured, looking at their clothes, these 2 people seem to be members of the Tiangang section. He knows about Tiangang sect. He has already surrendered to Shaking Light Holy Land. This sect is not very powerful, but it is backed by the Holy Land of Shaking Light and has a somewhat bad reputation in the world of cultivation. Although their people will not receive courtesy when walking outside. But most people don't want to provoke him. Provoking the Tiangang sect is nothing, but if it involves the Shaking Light Holy Land, it will be troublesome. Death is a bit weird. Bai Kunfeng lowered his head and looked at them carefully. The more he looked at them, the more something was wrong. These 2 people were too dead. There were no wounds on their bodies. If they hadn't lost their breath of life, he would have almost mistakenly thought that the 2 of them were asleep. You know, when 2 people fight in the world of cultivation, it would be great if the losing side can keep a whole corpse. As for the fact that there are no wounds on the body, it is almost a dream. Bai Kunfeng is not surprised if the losing side is beaten into a powder. But the current situation is beyond his understanding. The method of extracting souls and seizing souls. Bai Kunfeng said again. This does not seem to be the case. After the souls were extracted, there will definitely be fluctuations in magical power left on the body. However, let alone any residual aura of these 2 people, it seems that they did not even activate their own true energy. As if in an instant, he fell quickly. There was no resistance at all. He calmly killed the 2 false saints without leaving any traces. If their bodies were dumped tens of millions of miles away, even the Holy Land of Shaking Light might not be able to trace them. Bai Kunfeng said in a deep voice. He thought he couldn't do this method. Although he could kill the 2 of them effortlessly, it was almost impossible not to leave any traces as long as there were only a few traces left. Next, the Yaoguang Holy Land can quickly trace it based on this. This is also the reason why many people are unwilling to provoke the Tiangang sect. Even though the owner of Tianji building has such ability, he did not send the body thousands of miles away, but still stayed near Dawang City. This kind of behavior. Talk about this. Bai Kunfeng's heart trembled. Then, there was a gasp. He felt that he seemed to have guessed what the poster was thinking. Establish your authority. This is to establish authority over the Holy Land of Shaking Light. The purpose is very clear, which is to tell them that I am the one who killed the person, and I am waiting for you here. Come if you dare. A person who dares to challenge a holy place, such courage. Bai Confeng was scared. His intuition told him that Tianji Tower was more powerful than he thought. He couldn't even imagine the strength alone to challenge the Yaoguang Holy Land. You must know that the Yaoguang Holy Land has quasi-emperors and imperial soldiers. Ordinary imperial clansmen would not dare to be so stubborn and just shake the light of the Holy Land. As for their Tianyan dynasty, to put it bluntly, in front of the Yaoguang Holy Land, they are like a younger brother. On the surface, they are of the same level, but they are both at the Holy Land level. There is still a big difference in strength and foundation. It is estimated that it won't be long before the Yaoguang Holy Land knows what happened today, and there will definitely be saints coming by then. We can't stay in this deserted city any longer. Bai Confeng's heart sank. He turned around quickly and left. This place was a bit scary. I can't afford to offend either side, so I'd better sneak away quickly. What if the people from the light-shaking Holy Land arrive and suspect that they are from the Tianyan dynasty and Tianji Tower? I haven't been here before, so I can still pretend not to know. But it's unreasonable to pretend that you don't know anything when you are right there. Bai Confeng raised his hand and wiped out all the aura he had left behind, then soared into the sky and flew towards the Tianyan dynasty. Any method of becoming a saint through luck is not as important as your life at the moment. After all. Anyway. The method of becoming a saint through luck has fallen into the hands of the Tianyan dynasty. It's just that it's not in my own hands, but in the hands of my juniors. It doesn't seem to be bad. After thinking about this, Bai Confeng felt very upset. Why didn't he figure it out in the first place? Call out. A stream of light streaked across the sky. Bai Confeng had just left. Bai Confeng arrived. He looked at the distant sky, thoughtfully, and said uncertainly, the person who disappeared just now, could it be the 13th ancestor? The opponent's speed was too fast. So fast that he had no time to react. Just as he noticed a trace of breath, the opponent had disappeared. After a while, he couldn't even detect the breath. With the strength of the 13th ancestor, he should be able to see me, but he didn't stop at all. Could it be that he... Think of this. Bai Heng's eyes lit up. Could it be that the senior saved himself? It must be. Looking at the entire Tianyan dynasty, besides the seniors, who else has the courage to force a saint king back and save his life from his hands? It seems that I have to go and thank my seniors. Bai Confeng said. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 58. At the same time. Billions of miles away. Tiangang sect. In a large hall, there were two crisp sounds, two jade tablets, at the same time, full of cracks, and the internal brilliance was dim, indicating that the owner of the jade tablets had completely fallen. In the main hall, a man in robes heard the sound, his expression changed, he looked in the direction where the sound came from, and murmured, "Did someone take action against my Tiangang sect disciple? Quite brave, Lao Ants." The words were not finished. The man's expression changed drastically. He stood up, quickly ran under a wall, and looked up. A look of panic. I saw. The two jade plagues at the top have completely lost their brilliance. They are covered with cracks and seem to be shattered with just a slight touch. Oops. The ancestor has fallen. When the ancestor heard the news from Yaoguang Holy Land, he seemed to have rushed to Tianyan dynasty to seize the opportunity of Beiduan mountain range. Is it possible? The man looked horrified and said in a deep voice, "Did someone from the Tianyan dynasty or the Deluo sword sect take action? It seems now. It seems that only these two forces have the courage to kill the two ancestors of the Tiangang sect. No, this matter must be notified to Shaking Light Holy Land immediately." The man thought in his mind. Logically speaking, If something like this happens, he should inform the leader first, but the leader of the Tiangang sect is not at the peak of the Holy Lord, so informing him seems to be of no use. He cannot lead the Tiangang sect to help his ancestor avenge his death. Only the Holy Land of Shaking Light is the hope of their Tiangang sect. As for the headmaster, it's okay to be notified later. Thinking of this, the man no longer hesitated. A message jade slip appeared in his hand, and after inputting a piece of text, he passed on. Shaking Light Holy Land. There are many divine peaks, auspicious clouds are floating, and the immortal energy is thick. The magnificent palaces are looming in the clouds and mist, and countless powerful auras are revealed. In the center of the Holy Land of Shaking Light, an ancient celestial palace is located in the human world, and there are thousands of scenes in it. A man with a tall figure and a vague face wearing a purple robe stood in the main hall with his hands behind his hands. Divine light surrounded him, and the sounds of sacrifices and Zen chants came together to suppress the heaven and earth. As soon as he revealed his aura, he covered the heavens with his unparalleled grace, like an ancient god before the heavens opened. I don't know how terrifying it is to my cultivation level. Lin Ming asked to see the Holy Lord. At this time, a heavy voice sounded from outside the hall. Elder Lin, please come in. Holy Lord Yao Guang spoke. His voice was elegant and gentle, making people feel like a spring breeze after listening to it, and they couldn't help but feel a certain affection for him. Yes. Outside the hall. Lin Ming responded respectfully and walked into the hall. Elder Lin is not practicing at the Divine Peak. Why are you free today to come to my headmaster's hall? Holy Lord Yao Guang spoke slowly, with a hint of doubt in his voice. To be honest with the Holy Lord, Lin just received news that the two supreme elders of the Tiangang section died. Lin Ming took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. Holy Lord Yao Guang's voice was surprised, but his body remained motionless. He chuckled and said lightly, Tiangang sect, for more than 1,000 years, relying on the prestige of our holy land Yao Guang, we have done a lot of evil and have been killed. It makes sense. All of this seemed to be what he expected. He was not surprised at all by the death of the two ancestors of the Tiangang sect. But Lin Ming was about to speak but stopped. Elder Lin, if you have something to say, it doesn't matter. Holy Lord Yao Guang spoke. However, the two elders of the Tiangang sect died in the Tianyin dynasty, and the reason why they died was because they went to the Beiduan Mountains to help me regain the opportunity to shake the light holy land back to the Beiduan Mountains. Lin Ming said quickly. Oh. Hearing these words, Holy Lord Yao Guang turned around, his face shrouded in divine light, making it difficult for people to see his expression clearly, but under the divine light, the corners of his mouth raised in a joking smile. Since he died for me to shake the light of the Holy Land, then this matter cannot be forgotten like this. Holy Lord Yao Guang took 2 steps forward and asked, have you ever found out who was behind this, Tianyin dynasty? Deluo Sword Sect. He has heard about the Beiduan Mountains, but he has never interfered too much. After all, it is just a chance for a saint. Just leave it to the people below. Where does the prestige of Yao Guang Holy Land go? Other holy places should know about themselves. What to do? It seems not. Lin Ming paused for a moment and said stiffly. Is there something hidden? Holy Lord Yao Guang is curious. According to what he knows, there are only Tianyin dynasty and Deluo sword sect near the Beiduan Mountains. There is also a red flame holy land. Think of this. Holy Lord Yao Guang spoke again, but the scarlet flame holy land. Neither. Lin Ming shook his head and said with some uncertainty in his tone, it seems that a force called Tianji Tower took action. Lin doesn't know the specific situation. Lin also learned about it from the news sent back by Elder Hong just now. Tianji Tower. Holy Lord Yao Guang frowned. What kind of force is this? I've never heard of it. Could it be a newly rising force? To be honest with the Holy Lord, Elder Hong said in the message that he suspected that the chance of becoming a saint in the Beiduan Mountains was created by the master of Tianji Tower. And what? Explain. The Holy Lord of Yaoguang said in a deep voice. Moreover, the method of becoming a saint through luck also appeared in the Tianyin dynasty. Elder Hong learned from the Tianyin emperor that this magical power was also spread from the mouth of the Tianji building master. This Tianji tower is a bit interesting. Holy Lord Yaoguang raised his eyebrows, and his eyes were full of fun. From a chance to become a saint, to the method of becoming a saint, he now added the name of Tianji Tower. He seemed to have guessed the meaning of the existence of Tianji Tower. I think the owner of Tianji Tower is also an interesting person. If such a person can be brought to the Holy Land of Shaking Light, he might be able to play a huge role. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 59. I'm afraid I will disappoint the Holy Master. Lin Ming smiled bitterly and said slowly, the purpose of the two elders of the Tiangang sect in going to the Tianji Tower is to invite each other to be guests of the Holy Land of Light. It's okay that the owner of Tianji didn't appreciate it, but instead took action to suppress and kill the two elders. Is this happening? Hearing these words, Holy Lord Yaoguang raised his eyebrows and murmured, it's interesting that a person who is good at deducing the secrets of heaven has such high strength. This world. Whether they are good at deducing heavenly secrets or refining elixirs and refining weapons, they almost all have one thing in common, that is, they are generally not very strong, because most of their thoughts are not on cultivation. But this kind of people, even if his strength is low, no one dares to underestimate him. At present, this Tianji building owner is only good at deducing Tianji, but he actually has a cultivation level that exceeds that of a saint, which is more terrifying. Because such a person can deduce things too much. Elder Lin, please go to the back mountain and ask Uncle Leng to come out and ask him to go to the Tianji Tower to see if he can bring back the owner of the Tianji Tower. Holy Lord Yaoguang said calmly and conceitedly, with a gentle voice, if you can't bring it back, then directly search his soul and bring his memories back. Searching for souls. Lin Ming was stunned, and his eyes suddenly froze. Killing people can only be done with a nod, but searching for souls is a bit too much. The righteous way has this method, but few people use it, and even if it is used, it is secretly and secretly. He will not say it outright like, Holy Lord Yaoguang, there are still a few who are so straightforward. Isn't Elder Lin curious about Tianji's master's method of deducing Tianji? And, if he can tell an opportunity to become a saint and find out the whereabouts of the method of becoming a saint through luck, there must be a more important secret in his mind. Holy Lord Yaoguang sighed, and said in a low voice, I am doing this for the sake of Holy Land Yaoguang. Since Master Tianji is unwilling to join Holy Land Yaoguang, then we have to train a Master Tianji. Only by obtaining his cultivation method can we understand how he deduced the secret of heaven. More importantly, he may also have a way to become a saint through luck. Speaking of the method of becoming a saint through luck, Lin Ming's eyes lit up. This magical power is too precious. It is as powerful as the Yaoguang Holy Land and is very coveted. Unfortunately, Hong Yuanshan represented the Yaoguang Holy Land and went to exchange it with the Emperor Tianyin. In the end, but they were rejected. The Tianyin dynasty is not bad in strength, and there is no excuse at the moment. If they directly threaten the Tianyin dynasty, it will inevitably be unfair and may arouse the hostility of other holy places. If it backfires, the prestige of the Yaoguang Holy Land will inevitably be greatly damaged. Now a better opportunity appeared, and Lin Ming was immediately moved. Tianji Tower is not like other holy places. In the eyes of Yaoguang Holy Land, this is just a soft persimmon. What can it do if two false saints are killed? In the eyes of Yeoguang Holy Land, what can it do? In the eyes of the Holy Land of Light, it was not worth mentioning. Lin Ming thought for a moment, nodded, and said. Lin will do it now. Said. He was about to turn around and leave. Elder Lin, wait a moment. The Holy Lord Yeoguang spoke again. Holy Lord, do you have any other instructions? Lin Ming stopped and asked with a puzzled look on his face. Later, you take a heaven and earth creation pill and send it to Tiangang section. They lost 2 saints and their vitality was severely damaged. This pill may be able to restore some of their strength. The Holy Lord Yeoguang said. This. Lin Ming frowned, glanced at his Holy Master, and asked in a low voice, Holy Master, is this too precious? The heaven and earth creation pill is different from the pseudo-saint pill. This pill can really make people become saints. Of course it's not 100% sanctification, but just an increase in the chance of becoming a saint. But even so, it is very precious. Each of the spiritual herbs used to refine this elixir is of the holy level. The minimum growth cycle is thousands of years, and the main medicine can last as long as 10,000 years. It took tens of thousands of years of hard work to cultivate the spiritual herbs, but it is not certain that they can be combined into elixirs every time, but there is a huge possibility of failure in the middle. 10 furnaces of elixir may not be able to be made in one furnace. Even if it is finished. There are only 2 or 3 pills in a batch of elixirs. They don't even have enough in the Holy Land of Light, so how can they have any extra to give to outsiders? What he didn't expect was, today, the Holy Master wanted to take out one and give it to Tiangang sect. From Lin Ming's point of view, this was somewhat worthless. The Tiangang sect was indeed severely weakened. It would only be enough to give them a few fake holy pills, so as not to waste a lot of money. The leader of the Tiangang sect has been at the peak of the Holy Lord for nearly 1,000 years. This pill can solve his urgent needs. It can only allow them to obtain some benefits from time to time. Only then will they serve the shaking light Holy Land more faithfully, right? Holy Lord Yeoguang said with a smile. To be honest, he was also heartbroken by the pill of creation of heaven and earth, but at the moment he couldn't explain it if he didn't express it. After all, Tiangang sect lost 2 saints for Yeoguang Holy Land. Lin understood. Lin Ming nodded and said nothing more. He slightly cupped his hands, then turned and left. Holy Lord Yeoguang looked at Lin Ming's retreating back and murmured to himself. The method of becoming a saint through luck. He clicked his tongue lightly and said, what a pity, it's useless to me. However, the method of spying on Tianji is somewhat useful. If the owner of Tianji can spy on Tianji, he must also be able to cover up Tianji. The words fell. His aura suddenly changed. It is the aura of a saint. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 60. Tianji Tower. Lu Chensu held her chin with one hand, a sad look on her pretty face. She looked at Li Yun and said worriedly, Senior, you just killed 2 saints of the Tiangang section. I'm afraid the Yeoguang Holy Land will not stop here. The Holy Land of Shaking Light has a strong foundation. Countless years ago, there was a great emperor. Nowadays, there are even quasi-emperors sitting there. Ordinary people cannot afford to offend them. Of course. Lu Chensu changed the topic and said again, with the strength of the senior, naturally he will not be afraid of the light-shaking Holy Land, but if someone comes to harass him for a long time, the senior will inevitably be annoyed. Not as good as. Lu Chensu's bright eyes turned, and the sadness on his face was wiped away, and he said happily, Senior, how about moving to Delugo Sword Sect? If Senior is willing to go to Delugo Sword Sect, my master will definitely help Senior choose a good Feng Shui treasure land, and can also help you block some young people from the Shaking Light Holy Land. Your last sentence is the key point, right? Li Yun glanced sideways at Lu Chensu. Without looking at her thoughts, he could already guess what she was thinking just by listening to her words. Sure enough, nothing can be hidden from the seniors. Lu Chensu winked playfully. During this period, she and Li Yun have become more familiar, and they are not as reserved as before. If I could move, I would have left long ago, why wait until now? Li Yun smiled and said casually. Everything in Tianji Tower is good, but it can't be moved. If it can be moved, wouldn't it be beautiful to land directly in front of the mountain gate of Yaoguang Holy Land? After leaving Yaoguang Holy Land, it is Tianji Tower. Directly. Block the door. It will definitely make the Holy Lord of Shaking Light want to die. Could it be? Lu Chensu's heart moved, and she noticed something unusual. She asked tentatively what treasures will be born from here. In the remote place of Dawang City, Lu Chensu really couldn't figure out why the senior would stay here. Except when a heavy treasure is born. She couldn't think of a second possibility. There is a treasure beneath your feet. Li Yun smiled. Underfoot. Lu Chensu heard the words and looked down, but she didn't find anything unusual. After thinking for a while, she suddenly realized that the senior had built the Tianji Tower on the place where Kong Bao was going to be born. In this way, it was indeed a tower near the water. Get the moon first. When the important treasure appears in the future, no one can snatch it away from the seniors. After taking a look at Lu Chensu's thoughts, Li Yun was speechless. Tianji Tower, in your eyes, is it not considered an important treasure? Li Yun smiled casually, opening the system panel again. I said in my mind. System query for Shaking Light Holy Land. What Lu Chensu said just now is unreliable, but one thing is right, that is, the Holy Land of Shaking Light will never give up. According to the iron law of the fantasy world. If you fight the young, the old will definitely come. Next. It is estimated that Yaoguang Holy Land is about to launch a big move. In order to prevent problems before they happen, Li Yun decided to take a look at the cards of Yaoguang Holy Land. Knowing their strength, he can then prescribe the right medicine. Ding, there are two options for querying the Shaking Light Holy Land. Please confirm with the host. Comprehensive inquiry, 2.1 million TNG points required. Fuzzy query, 200,000 TNG points required. Friendly reminder, a comprehensive search can obtain information about all the Supreme Elders, disciples, techniques, imperial weapons, etc. in Yaoguang Holy Land. Fuzzy query can only display the third floor information of Yaoguang Holy Land. I wipe. Li Yun's expression changed. This is too damn expensive. A comprehensive query would cost 2 million secret points and a fuzzy query would cost 200,000. I only have more than 200,000 secret points. If I check the Shaking Light Holy Land, I will be a pauper again. Li Yun felt relieved again when he thought that there were imperial soldiers and imperial scriptures in the Yaoguang Holy Land. Checking the tomb of the great emperor will cost you millions of secret points. Checking a holy land will also cost you so many points. It seems quite reasonable. Looks like it needs to be replaced. Li Yun raised his hand and rubbed his chin. After thinking for a while, he said again in his heart. System, where is the query about Tiangang sect? We can't investigate the Yaoguang Holy Land at the moment. It seems okay to deal with a loser first. Tiangang sect is a small sect, so it shouldn't cost too many TNG points. Ding, there are two options for querying Tiangang sect, please confirm with the host. Comprehensive inquiry, 100,000 TNG points required. Fuzzy query, 10,000 TNG points required. It seems that it is not cheap either. Li Yun clicked his tongue. The cost of searching a small sect is almost as much as that of a saint. A comprehensive search would cost a lot more. Let's do a vague query first. Li Yun said in his heart. Ding, query successful. Tiangong sect. Saint King, none. Saint Realm, none. Holy Lord level, 9 people. Astronomical level, 183 people. Sect formation, Tiangang Demon Subduing Formation, click to view details. Bonus news, Yao Guang Holy Land dispatched Elder Lin Ming, carrying a heaven and earth creation pill, click to view the pill introduction, which is being sent to Tiangang section. It is expected to arrive in 3 days. 13 days later, Tiangang sect will add a new saint. Click to see more. You are really vague. Li Yun complained. There were 9 Saint Lord level people. None of these 9 people said who they were. They didn't mention what skills they practiced. But the last bonus news made his eyes light up. If he could intercept it? It seems like it's not a loss.